Hey guys, Jason Timothy here, musicsoftwaretraining.com, and today I've got a cheesy little loop that I created to demonstrate a new effects rack that I created that I'm going to share with you guys for free. So I'll go through what it can do. If you find this useful, then you'll be able to download it below. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's just turn all the effect chains off. And the goal of this is an effect chain that you could use on pretty much any track that you have. So you drop this on one of your tracks or any of your tracks, and you should be able to improve the sound in one way or another. So I figured I would show you on a drum beat, on a cheesy little melody, and a bass. So here's our cheesy loop without anything going. All right, nothing special. And so what I wanted to do with this effect rack is to give you, the essentials that I find most important when it comes to processing sound. That's going to be EQ, compression, reverb, delay, and saturation. Those are the main things that I wanted to make sure we're in this effect rack. So let's go ahead and get into this. What we've got here, if we open this up, we've got our high pass. Actually, let's open up the map too so I can kind of show you what's going on. So with the EQ here, we've got the high pass, the low pass, and the mid cut. So essentially with the mid cut, I keep the EQ open, so because usually what I'll do is I'll turn up the gain and then I'll kind of move the mud cut around to see if I can find any muddy parts, and then I'll come here and I'll lower the gain. And I can tighten up the Q if I want, but usually that's around what I want. Next we have the compression. So we've got, I used two different compressors. The glue compressor, at maximum, it only goes to 40%, so it's not quite as noticeable, but the glue compressor just has a really nice kind of extra tone, so I figured I would mix that with the standard compressor here. So we've got the attack, decay, release, and threshold. When I turn up the ratio here, as you can see over here, we go from 2 to 4 to 10. It's just, those are the only three options, while this is more of a smooth transition. All the way up, and then threshold. As you can see, it doesn't go all the way down. It just goes at top, -20. And then we've got the attack and release. Next we have delay. So if let's close this real quick. And if I come over to the delay, we have delay timing. So right now by default it's on 3/16, but it can come down to 1/16, 2/16, 3, 4, 5, all the way up. So that'll give you loads of different options there. And then obviously the delay feedback and the delay mix, wet, dry. Next we got a reverb, and kind of like I did with the compressor, I used both the reverb and the hybrid reverb. And the hybrid reverb, once again, is just a low percentage, and it's just a kind of a shorter plate reverb from the convolution side of the hybrid reverb. So I'm just using that as it adds a little bit more of a realistic plate sound. So as we turn it up, we get a little bit more of that. Just adds a little bit more authenticity to the reverb. And then we've got our basic decay time and wet dry. By default, I have a low cut because most of the time you don't want to put the reverb on your low frequencies. That'll keep things from getting muddy. Then we have our drive, and with our drive, I use both the drum bus and the saturator. So as I turn this up, you'll notice this drive goes from 0 to 100%, or 0 to 35% rather. The crunch here, I think it's called crunch, goes only up to 20%, so a little bit less, but just adds a little bit extra. And also we get some transient added to the drive as well. And then at full strength, we've got our saturator drive at plus 8 dB. So those are the options. If we turn it all the way down, and all the way down it's at 0. I don't go in negative here. So we got that, and then the sidechain I leave open by default because you're going to want to set where you're sidechaining from. Usually you want to find your kick drum. So in this case, I am going to be sidechaining to the drum beat. Let me just turn this off real quick. I've got the EQ turned on. When this is turned on, the EQ's turned on, and it's just capturing the lower frequencies. That way, if you're using a loop or something like that with a kick in it, it will just listen for the frequencies that the kick would be hitting. So yeah, so that's going to stay open, and the EQ is going to stay open so that you can kind of set your mud frequency range here, or the mud gain rather, and then the frequency range you set over here. So that's that. The goal here is to show you taking a cheesy little loop here and making it sound a little bit less cheesy. So this is with everything at default. Everything's pretty much off. And I can go ahead and solo each one. And then nothing special, and then a bass. Turn this up a little bit. All right, so that's all we got. All right, I just wanted to demonstrate this chain on 3 different instruments. So that's the only reason that I created this. So let's go ahead and start here with the drum loop. So the first thing I typically will do, I'm either going to be on a default here. So if it's got a kick drum or a bass in it, then you would probably use the default. If it's any other instrument, for the most part, I would go to the 20 cut. And the only difference is it just defaults to 20 hertz being cut out. And you could obviously continue to go up, but I like to have that 120 cut because that's a good place to normally have things cut when it's not a kick drum or a bass or a sub. But with this, we start with the default, which defaults at 17 hertz. So it cuts out the super low mud. You could bring it up to 20 if you want, but I'm just leaving a little bit of extra space there. And the first thing I want to do is just figure out if we've got some mud. So what I'll do is I turn this up and get the cue open just a little bit. And then I just do a sweep with the mud cut. So it sounds a little bit muddy around 369. That might be the spot. Actually, right around there, it's kind of muddy too. I think I'm going to choose that. And then I'll tighten this up a little bit. And if you want to do another one, you could grab another one of these and you could just tighten this up yourself for that like 300 range that we found. So we'll go ahead and do that. Next we'll do our compressor, and let's close out real quick, and I'll just open the compressor just to show you what's going on. You shouldn't need to open the compressor, but we'll get our rush ratio up. As you can see here, we'll do something like that. And then our threshold. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually turn the ratio way up and the threshold down, so I can really hear that attack, and then I'll kind of set the attack where I want. A shorter attack is going to give a snappier transient, and the longer the attack, the more of the drum will come through. So kind of like it like that, and then the release, longer release is going to kind of give the sound of like a shorter drum. And as we come back, it jumps back quicker, so it gives kind of a longer sound. So I'll pop it around there. And then what I'm going to do is I'll back off the ratio and back off the threshold. Next, I'll normally get into drive or OTT or both. And this is just a matter of like adjusting to taste. It's a little too much. Like that right there. It just adds a little bit extra frequency harmonics. And let's see if OTT, now all the way up, it's really squashed. So that's what we're kind of adding into the mix. That's good enough for me. Next, let's work on reverb. And what I'll do with reverb is I'll turn this all the way up to 100% so I can hear what's going on. And then I'll kind of set the decay. Just a little bit of room there. And then I'll back this off. Just like that, real transparent. And then let's see if a little bit of delay might kind of get the groove moving a little bit more. Okay, so that's that timing there. Let's go all the way down here. I kind of like this, but let's back the feedback off. And then I'll back this way down. It just kind of thickens the sound. So the timing is at 1/16 now. There we go. And that's our drums ready to go. So let's do a before and after. And I could back the gain off a bit. Definitely an improvement. Now let's go ahead and get into our melody, see what we can do there. So this one, I'm gonna hit the 120 cut. And let's open this up. And I think I'm gonna probably bring it up even further because there is a little bit of mud in this melody. So I'm gonna high pass it a little bit more. Kind of like that a little bit better, just not letting that low frequency overpower. And then let's try to find our mud, if there is some. All right, let's. me back that off just a little bit there. Get the Q up. Nothing too extreme. Let's do the compressor. So let's turn that ratio way up and threshold. And this will help us set the attack. Okay, cool. Back off that ratio. And then I can check by turning on and off. Cool. We'll set the gain a little back. All right, sounding better already. Let's work on a little bit of drive. A little bit more punch to it. That's good. See if OTT works. I don't know if it will. A little too clicky. So I'll just have just a subtle amount. We'll turn the sidechain on, and we'll set our sidechain to this beat. And that just gets it out of the way when the kick hits for the most part. We can bring this down even further. And we could also adjust our threshold. Cool. Let's get a little bit of reverb in there. So I'm going to bring the reverb to 100% so I can really hear what's going on, or actually 99%, because at 100% it freezes, which is a cool effect. But we'll do this. Okay. A little bit of atmosphere there. And let's play with the delay. And then I'll back this off. It sounded a little bit clicky to me, so I'm going to back the drive off a little bit and back off the OTT. Maybe back the ratio off a little, and then all right, I'm liking that. That sounds good. And then we'll come in and we'll use it on our bass, just a wavetable instrument. So open this up. Let's find that mud. It's usually what I would like to start with. I kind of want that harmonic to be pulled back, so that's good. And then I can tighten this up a little bit, just a touch. Once again, all right, we've got that attack. Back this off a little. And once again, if we want to see what's going on, we can open this up. All right, and then play with our drive. Just a little bit. OTT. Fattens it up. And let's try low pass here. Just cut a little bit. Back to threshold here. And we could see about reverb. Now, by default, the reverb lows are cut, which is what we want because we don't want that extra mud. And I would just want a really short, just something like that. And then I'll back this off. It'll be real subtle. Before. So we'll back this off a little bit. Definitely an improvement there. And then let's go ahead and just play this all together. Bring this up a little more. Cool. I think I assigned keys. No, okay, so let me do this. I'm going to assign key to each one of these. Simply to, yeah, okay, I assigned 2 to that. That one there, cool. Simply to show you before and after of everything. So before. All right, and then after. So there you go, just kind of an essential bread and butter effect chain that you could use in any of your own productions. You could put it on every track, and that track will probably benefit from this chain if you want to use it. And with that, I'll have it down in the link. Make sure, show your appreciation, like the video, subscribe. All that really helps the channel. Feel free to share this with friends as well. You know, if you have another producer friend that could use a nice essentials effect chain. And with that, I will speak to you guys most likely tomorrow. Take care.